till about 1 a.m. So the night hours about 9 to 11 are the hours where things really pop off. So this call comes out where these guys are screaming on the phone, my brother's been shot, my brother's been shot, my brother's been shot. It happened at the Circle K. So I drive up to the address of where it is, and these two guys are on the sidewalk just wailing, like freaked. Like I know that true. That's why it's hard for me to watch TV shows, but these guys are truly in trauma. And they're wailing. And I could see the car where they're talking about, they're like, my brother, my brother, my brother. And I go to the car and I get to the window and I see this guy had a lot of hair. It was all matted and mush, and you can tell that he wasn't moving. And I open, and his face was just, because he had been shot in the head, his face was just mush. And there was just all this nasty purple blood and everything. So I close the door and I go and I talk to the brothers, and they tell me that they were driving by the Circle K and that someone shot at them. And I was like, it just didn't make a lot of sense to me that, the entry wound was in the back of the head and there's no entry in the window of the car. What turns out is it was 3 brothers in the car, and the brother in the back seat was playing with the gun, and he put it to his brother's head joking around, and he pulled the trigger and shot and killed his brother. Oh. And so in that short period of time, the 2 alive brothers have to figure out a story, because this happened very, very, quickly. And I remember because the brothers ended up confessing to this, is the trauma of killing your brother and then having to make up a story about it and having to deal with that grief. One of the most wild, crazy things, because you do have, it was an accident, but it's negligence. But
right, but the biggest crime is that he has to almost deal with this burden.
Yeah.
Of killing his own brother. It almost sounds Shakespearean or something.
It is. And that's, playing with guns is another thing, because one of the first calls I ever had to translate on was, because we have AAA, well, I don't say we because I don't live there anymore, but in Vegas they have AAA baseball, and they had this AAA team. This guy had Tommy John surgery, and Dominican guy had Tommy John. And so he was partying with his friends. They brought some girls over, and he was playing with the gun and shot this young girl in the head. She was probably 19 years old, killed her. And I walk upstairs, I walk into the apartment, and the girl, her eyes were open and she was just to the side like this. And the guy is just he's completely freaked out, and he's thinking about his career, right? And he didn't speak English, so I'm, translating to him in Spanish. And I'm like, the stupidity again of playing with a freaking gun. His life is done. You're done. Your career is what you're thinking about right now. How do you live with that? Don't even think about the legal stuff that you have to go through. Living with the fact that you took this 18 or 19-year-old girl's life because you wanted to show off and play with your gun. So that there's another lesson. It's do not play with friggin' guns. They're not toys. They're really not toys. Oh, and so many people do. So many people do.
It's ridiculous, dude. I would not. Yeah, we had a kid in high school, and there was, I guess, kids playing poker together, and he was messing with the gun and shot himself. There were 2 brothers in our town, and one of them, they were playing Russian roulette together, and they were idiots. I'll be honest. They were dumb, not smart guys, and one of them shot himself. I mean, but what a weird moment. Then you're the brother. You're like, what even, we could have played hoops or something. Just it's heartbreaking, man.
Responsible gun ownership is good, but when it comes to playing with guns or showing off with guns,
yeah,
I mean, it's just one of the stupidest things that you can possibly.
Have you ever been involved in a shooting?
Yes, I have. And in fact, I was mentioning earlier, yeah, it's involved in 2, and I was a sergeant on 9.
You were a sergeant on 9 shootings?
On 9 different shootings, yeah. So I'm intimately...
and a shooting means somebody shot somebody, or it means somebody shot an officer, or it means an officer shot someone?
It can mean any of those, but
okay.
but the ones I was involved in, the one that I was specifically would reference is this interesting story. Was a cop buddy of mine. This mom was taking her kids out and having one of the kids make a commotion, and then the rest of the kids would steal stuff and run out. So my buddy had a warrant for...
At a grocery store?
More like those Target type places.
Got it.
My buddy had a warrant for one of the people in the family, and he asked me to go with them to serve it. And it was an arrest warrant. So we get to the apartment community, and he thinks he sees one of the guys involved in this thing. And the guy, I remember, he had on these red cargo shorts, a white T-shirt, white wife beater, and he goes, "That's the guy." So there's a thing that we do is called contact cover, where one officer does all the talking and the other one covers to make sure that the person's not doing anything. And,
Oh, okay. So the guy up front can feel comfortable knowing that the guy behind him, his sole purpose is just to see if this dude tries to make a single move.
Yep, it's called contact cover. And so I was the cover officer. And as I'm looking at the guy, I see in his cargo pocket the outline of a gun. And so our code for gun is 413. So I made I give 413 to him, and so my guy sees it and he's like, "Oh, shoot." So the guy was being so there was yes people, no people, maybe people. And the guy was being a maybe person, like maybe I'll comply. And that maybe people, we want to get them in custody. So I made the choice that I knew I could tell it was a gun. So I made the choice that I went and I grabbed it. And this guy yanked away from me and he got away. And so the foot pursuit starts. And he reaches into his cargo pocket, and I'm running after him, gun drawn. And this was around 4:30, 5 o'clock in Vegas, so it's still very light outside. Mm-hmm. And I'm running after him, and he keeps turning around and looking at me, and I keep saying, "If you pull that gun out of your pocket," I'm screaming, "If you pull that gun, if you pull that," and then he pulled the gun, and I lit him up. I remember after I shot that, he does a somersault, and everyone in this place is screaming.
At the Target? At the apartment complex?
At the apartment complex. Everyone's screaming. And this place was kind of anti-police. They're like, "Oh, he shot that guy. He shot that guy." And the guy's mom came out.
No.
She was one of the first people to come out. He lived. It turned out that it was a replica gun.
It wasn't even a real gun.
Replica. It was a replica that looked like a firearm.
It was not even a real weapon.
It was not a fireable weapon. It was a replica.
What? That is even dumber than anything.
Well, it
but
makes
actually,
sense.
It's a blessing then.
It makes sense. It makes sense because
it makes sense. Yeah, why? Sorry.
Because a lot of those guys, they'll rob people with them.
Oh, I see.
Or if someone, and he's a gang member, and so a lot of times they'll flash those, or if they have the inability to get something, that's better than nothing. But it was just incredibly, and it became a race thing, which was really weird because I'm not white. But the media portrays things a certain way, and it flips.
Was it a black perpetrator?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. He is. He's still alive.
Wow. And do you choose at that point? Are you trying to maim someone? Or are you trying to just slow them down?
No. It was shoot to incapacitate. You're taught to shoot center mass. But again, do you train running at full speed through an apartment community?
No.
There's a whole bunch of different dynamic that come into play.
Yeah, that's got to be kind of fascinating with a lot of there's so much racial stuff surrounding police and policing.
Yeah.
What does that look like from the inside? What's that? Because if it was a black group and you got accused and you're Dominican?
No, I'm half black, half white.
Oh, you are? Okay. So you're black and white.
Well, actually, both of my parents are kind of mixed. So I guess I'm consider myself black.
Yeah.
But I speak Spanish because I learned to speak Spanish as an adult. That was an intent of mine. I respect cultures. I think that, and I lived in another country that spoke Spanish, so I felt that if you go into another country and learn their language.
I think that makes good sense. It just helps you probably too.
100%.
Yeah, and probably help you so much in your service, because immediately you can relate with somebody else.
Yes.
On a level that a lot of people wouldn't be able to. What is race? What is that profile? What is that like? There's so much racial stuff that revolves around the police all the time. Does that get uncomfortable out there in the streets? What is it like?
It's really interesting because, a lot of people, being a white cop is really, really difficult. A white male cop, because so often the default is that you did it because I'm this race and you're white. And I was around cops for 20 plus years, and I can only think of one instance where there was an overtly racial thing that occurred, and it was a comment that was made in a briefing room. But as far as the treating of a person because they were a certain race, I've never seen that, and I'm hypersensitive to that kind of stuff. Like, I study that. In fact, I taught it for a while, and
what is that called?
So. Some people call it diversity. My class was called human, and I called it the soul search warrant. And I think that we all have biases. All of us have biases.
Oh, for sure.
And I think that you as a comedian know that part of those biases is what makes a lot of comedy funny. And most black comedians, the first thing that they talk about is how black people are a certain way and white people are a certain way. I mean, that's just kind of how we are, but we get along and it works. But in policing, to default that because one person is one color and another person is another color is the wrong way to look at it. I mean, this whole thing that happened with George Floyd, I mean, we're talking billions of dollars and people who were, the cities that were destroyed and all that stuff. I have yet to see a piece of evidence that Derek Chauvin did that because George Floyd is black. I haven't seen that. Now, can I speak to the tactics? I can, of course, speak to the tactics.
Right. But was race involved, or was it just a guy maybe who didn't use the best tactics in the moment, who was probably also scared? Who knows what was going on? I don't know exactly what he testified.
I studied that case.
You did?
Close. I did.
What did Chauvin say? I never looked at that.
So I can tell you that. So here are the factors, and this is a big can of worms for us to open up. But I'll speak to some specifics. Because there's a push that he should be released, right?
I've seen that recently. But you're a police officer. You've been a sergeant.
Yes. So I'll tell you my thoughts on it. You want to talk about that?
For sure. Okay. And you're black and white.
Yeah, exactly.
So we can. Yeah.
All right. So I'll tell you here's my take on it. Because I have cops who say, "Oh yeah, that he was wrongly convicted. He was wrongly convicted." I say, okay, let's just set that aside for a second. You roll up on that scene. And Chauvin has his knee on Floyd's neck. Tell me what you're going to do at that point. And he's not moving. What are you going to do? And every one of them says, of course, I'm going to tell him to get off. So I said, then we need to start from that point about the sanctity of a person's life. Let's forget about the fact that George Floyd was likely on a very high levels of fentanyl, which was proven and all that other stuff. But we're the professionals.
Right.
We're the professionals.
Right. Like at what point does the governor inside of you not activate or trigger that it's like, okay, I have to go here from policing to being human, or I don't know.
Why can't policing be human? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'll give you an example, Theo. Check this out, right? Judge me on this really quickly, okay? This is a typical car stop. I pull you over, Sergeant Curtis, Vaughn Police Department. Reason I pulled you over is because you were speeding, license, registration, and proof of insurance, please. Grade me on that. A, B, C, D.
I would say B.
Okay, you give me a B on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
A to B.
A to B.
Yeah.
A to B. Okay. So now you go to a restaurant. I come up to your table. I'm like, hello, Mr. Vaughn. My name's Christopher. I'd like to tell you about our specials today. We got a chicken. We have a fish. And we have
tiramisu.
Tiramisu. Grade me on that as your server.
A to B.
So I'll tell you, I would not give that server an A to B. And most servers are going to come to you and be a lot more congenial than I was to you.
Yeah,
right?
probably. A little more energetic.
A little more energetic, a little more congenial. Shouldn't policing be even better? How about this? How you doing, sir? Sergeant Curtis, Vaughn Police Department. I know this is probably not what you want to be doing right now, but I just want to explain something to you. We had a little kid almost got hit the other day, and we're pulling people over just to warn them to slow down a bit. If you give me your license, registration, proof of insurance, I'll try to get you out here as quickly as possible. I'm sure that you probably have something else more important to do. I just want to let you know that I'm here to help. That was maybe, 30 more seconds of words?
Yeah.
Do you feel
I'll go
different?
on a date now. Yeah. But it changes the whole, the energy.
It changes the whole thing. But this mechanics has changed. So what happened with this, let's go back to what we were talking about with Chauvin and George Floyd, right? When I watched the video, you definitely can see that George Floyd was having some issue with being claustrophobic and getting inside the vehicle, okay? Now, we're not saying that it's made for comfort, and if you get arrested, it's not going to be a fun experience. But can we be a little bit different? The one cop said, I'll put the window down, And you can even see Floyd saying, I'll do the countdown. Let me count down before I get inside the car. Is it possible? For us, it's because especially if the person's handcuffed, to reach down into a degree of humanity to another human being and say, you know what? Take a deep breath. I'll count with you. Can we get you in the car then? Let me tell you my name. My name is Sergeant Curtis. I don't want to hurt you. Look at me in my face. Look at me. Take a deep breath, my man. Okay, I see you breathing a little bit better now. You're going to be going to jail and you got to get in the car, but you got to work with me. Now, granted, I'm talking in an air conditioned place. I slept in a great hotel last night, and it's a lot easier than being in the field. But I've been in the field.